Brunton has been making compasses and inclinometers for use in surveying for more than 125 years. They are best known for the Pocket Transit, which was the default cave survey instrument for collecting azimuths and inclinations from the dawn of cave survey through the early 1980s. Brunton also makes a variety of baseplate compasses, and they had their name on the Survey Master sighting compass and inclinometer for a few years after both Systico and Brunton were bought by Silva, and the Systico instrument got rebranded. But this instrument has been out of production for several years now, and Brunton is now owned by Phoenix Outdoor. In 2015, Brunton released a newly designed sighting compass and inclinometer known as the OmniSight and OmniSlope, respectively. The design of the Omni instruments is clearly inspired by the Sunto KB14 and PM5 compass and inclinometer. Each instrument has an aluminum housing and an outer rubber bump guard. There is a liquid damped capsule that contains either a magnetic or weighted disc that rides on a bearing. There is a magnifying lens that can be screwed in or out of the aluminum housing to adjust the diopter so that it can be read without corrective lenses. An index line is used to align the instrument with the target and take a reading off the scale that is printed around the outside edge of the disc. There are a few differences in design between the Brunton Omnis and Suntos. The Omnis are bigger and heavier than the Sunto, approximately 35% heavier without the rubber cover and 60% heavier with it. The Brunton does appear to be a little more rugged. The rubber cover protects the aluminum housing, and the capsule itself appears to be a little less brittle than the Sunto capsule. There's an O-ring on the adjustable eyepiece, but unlike the Sunto, this is not a seal for keeping water and mud out of the instrument. It appears as though the O-ring is simply there to add some friction to keep the eyepiece from rotating. If water or dirt get inside the instrument, then the eyepiece can be removed for cleaning, but this is more likely to be needed with the Brunton due to the lack of sealing. The Sunto instruments are available in several different models that have scales in different units. The Brunton Omni instruments, by contrast, include most of the same units but all on single instruments. The OmniSight has units of azimuth degrees, reverse azimuth degrees, quadrant bearing degrees, and mils, all on this one compass. The OmniSlope has degrees, forestry chain 66-foot height measurements, and percent gradient, all on a single inclinometer. At first, this might appear to be a benefit, but for cave survey you really only need units of degrees, and having all of these other scales printed on the same dial can be confusing and is more likely to result in reading errors. The diopter can be adjusted to keep one set of units in focus, but it's still possible to see and misread the other scales. The OmniSight compass is available in 3 versions for different zones due to the change in dip of the Earth's magnetic field between the northern, equatorial, and southern zones. Just as with the Sunto instruments, the compass must be kept level to get an accurate reading. The compass is held in horizontal orientation with the face of the capsule facing up, and the inclinometer is held in a vertical orientation with the capsule facing to the surveyor's left. The scale has small index marks every degree, larger index marks every 5 degrees, and a label every 10 degrees. Although the index marks are every degree, it's possible to interpolate between the index marks and estimate readings to the nearest half degree. Both instruments are factory calibrated to be accurate within a half a degree, and there is no way to adjust the accuracy or adjust for magnetic declination. For cave survey, it is recommended to take readings with one eye closed to avoid potential errors that may be due to heterophoria, parallax, or eye rivalry. The Brunton Omni instruments come with a very traditional leather snap closure carry case with a belt loop, but for cave survey it's better to transport the instruments in something like a Pelican 1020 hard case. There is also an LED version of the Omni instruments that has a built-in green LED for illuminating the dial in low light conditions. This is a very nice function for cave survey, but the LED versions of the instruments are sold at a rather pricey $60 premium. Both the OmniSight and OmniSlope retail for $170 for the non-LED version, which is about $25 to $50 more expensive than the equivalent Sunto instrument, though it does come with a silicone rubber protective cover and a leather pouch, so they are comparable in terms of value. I bought a used pair of Brunton Omni instruments off of eBay to evaluate, and I had a few issues with them. When I received the instruments, they both had bubbles in the capsules. I was able to use the trick of gently heating the instrument in the sun to remove the small bubble from the compass, but I was unsuccessful getting rid of the bubble in the inclinometer. Bubbles can sometimes form in these liquid-filled instruments, including those from Sunto, and the problem seems to be initiated by high elevation and cold conditions, which causes the capsule to expand and the fluid to contract. My experience is purely anecdotal, but I've had more problems with bubble formation in Brunton sighting instruments than I have in Sunto's. The second and far more serious issue had to do with the build quality and accuracy of the instruments. I checked the accuracy of the Brunton Omnis by comparing readings against several other survey instruments and found that they were off by several degrees. Upon closer inspection, I found that the capsules in both the OmniSight and OmniSlope could be rotated slightly inside the aluminum housing. Rotating the capsules changes their orientation with respect to the index line used to take the reading. The reading could be changed by as much as 4 to 5 degrees by moving the capsule back and forth. I contacted Brunton about this, but they didn't have a response. They do have a maintenance or capsule replacement service that costs $80 per instrument. I solved this problem myself by carefully adjusting the position of the capsule in the housing until the reading was accurate, and then securing it in place with a small amount of aqua seal. Since I had the same problem in both the compass and inclinometer, it appears to be a design flaw. Due to the larger size, higher weight, higher cost, greater likelihood of forming bubbles in the capsules, and especially the accuracy problems introduced by movement of the capsule, I would not recommend the Brunton Omni instruments for cave survey applications over the instruments from Sunto. The LED version of the instruments look like an interesting and useful function, but it's expensive and not a compelling enough feature to overcome the other drawbacks. If you're still interested in these instruments, then the best source to buy one is forestry suppliers.